Hello everyone, I'm Jessica River and I have finally finished organizing the files of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. So, just like we did with the first game, this video is time-stamped so you can skip to whatever part you want. And a link to that will be in the description and in the comments below. Also, at the end of the video, I'm going to be sharing with you some of my thoughts on the Five Nights at Freddy's lore and some of the interesting things I found with these particular game files. And with that, hope you guys enjoy.
Well, if you're hearing this, then chances are you've made a very poor career choice. Hello? Hello, hello? Hello and welcome to your new summer job at the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. I'm here to talk you through some of the things you can expect to see during your first week here and to help you get started down this new and exciting career path. Now, I want want you to forget anything you may have heard about the old location, you know. Some people still have a somewhat negative impression of the company. That old restaurant was kind of left to rot for quite a while, but I want to reassure you, Fazbear Entertainment is committed to family fun and, above all, safety. They've spent a small fortune on these new animatronics. Facial recognition, advanced mobility. They even let them walk around during the day. Isn't that neat? But most importantly, they're all tied into some kind of criminal database so they can detect a predator a mile away. Heck, we should be paying them to guard you. Now, that being said, no new system is without its kinks. You're only the second guard to work at that location. The first guy finished his week but complained about conditions. We switched him over to the day shift. So, hey, lucky you, right? Mainly he expressed concern that certain characters seemed to move around at night and even attempted to get into his office. Now, from what we know, that should be impossible. That restaurant should be the safest place on Earth. So while our engineers don't really have an explanation for this, the working theory is that the robots were never given a proper night mode. So when it gets quiet, they think they're in the wrong room. So then they go try to find where the people are, and in this case, that's your office. So our temporary solution is this. There's a music box over by the prize counter, and it's rigged to be wound up remotely. So just every once in a while, switch over to the prize counter video feed and wind it up for a few seconds. It doesn't seem to affect all of the animatronics, but it does affect one of them. And as for the rest of them, we have an even easier solution. You see, there may be a minor glitch in the system, something about robots seeing you as an endoskeleton without its costume on and wanting to stuff you into a suit. So hey, we've given you an empty Freddy Fazbear head. Problem solved. You can put it on any time and leave it on for as long as you want. Eventually, anything that wandered in will wander back out. Something else worth mentioning is kind of the quirky modern design of the building. You may have noticed there are no doors for you to close. But hey, you have light, and even though your flashlight can run out of power, the building cannot. So don't worry about the place going dark. Well, I think that's it. You should be golden. Check the lights, put on the Freddy head if you need to. Keep the music box wound up. Piece of cake. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Hello? See, I told you your first night wouldn't be a problem. You're a natural. By now, I'm sure you've noticed the older models sitting in the back room. Those are from the previous location, and we just use them for parts now. The idea at first was to repair them. They even started retrofitting them with some of the newer technology, but they were just so ugly, you know, and the smell. So the company decided to just go in a whole new direction and make them super kid-friendly. Those older ones shouldn't be able to walk around, but if they do, the whole Freddy head trick should work on them too, so whatever. I loved those old characters. Did you ever see Foxy the Pirate? Oh wait, Foxy. Oh yeah, Foxy. Hey listen, that one was always a bit twitchy. I'm not sure if the Freddy head trick will work on Foxy. If for some reason he activates during the night, and you see him standing at the far end of the hall, just flash your light at him from time to time. Those older models would always get disoriented with bright light. It would cause a system restart or something. Come to think of it, you might want to try that on any room where something undesirable might be. It might hold him in place for a few seconds. That glitch might have carried over to the newer models too. One more thing. Don't forget the music box. I'll be honest, I never liked that puppet thing. It's always thinking, and it can go anywhere. I don't think the Freddy mask will fool it, so just don't forget the music box. Anyway, I'm sure it won't be a problem. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Hello? See, I told you wouldn't have any problems. Did Foxy ever appear in the hallway? Probably not. I was just curious. Like I said, he was always my favorite. They tried to remake Foxy, you know. They thought the first one was too scary, so they redesigned him to be more kid-friendly and put him in Kids Cove to keep the toddlers entertained, you know. but kids these days just can't keep their hands to themselves. The staff literally had to put Foxy back together at the end of every shift. Eventually, they just stopped trying and left him as some kind of take-apart, put-back-together attraction. Now he's just a mess of parts. I think the employees refer to him as just the Mangle. Oh, hey, before I go, I wanted to ease your mind about any rumors you might have heard lately. You know how these local stories come and go and seldom mean anything. I can personally assure you that whatever is going on out there, however tragic it may be, has nothing to do with our establishment. It's just all rumor and speculation, people trying to make a buck, you know. Our guard during the day has reported nothing unusual, and he's on watch from opening till close. Okay, well anyway, hang in there and I'll talk with you tomorrow. Hello. Hey there, Night 4. I told you to get the hang of it. Okay, so just to update you, there's been somewhat of an investigation going on. We may end up having to close for a few days. I don't know. I want to emphasize, though, that it's really just a precaution. Fazbear Entertainment denies any wrongdoing. These things happen sometimes. It'll all get sorted out in a few days. Just keep an eye on things, and I'll keep you posted. Just as a side note, though, try to avoid eye contact with any of the animatronics tonight if you can. Someone may have tampered with their facial recognition systems. We're not sure. But the characters have been acting very unusual, almost aggressive toward the staff. They interact with the kids just fine, but when they encounter an adult, they just stare. Anyway, hang tight. It will all pass. Good night. Hello. Hey, good job, Night 5. Hey, keep a close eye on things tonight, okay? From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, you know, especially concerning any previous employees. When we get it all sorted out, we may move you to the day shift. A position just became available. We don't have a replacement for your shift yet, but we're working on it. We're going to try to contact the original restaurant owner. I think the name of the place was Fredbear's Family Diner or something like that. It was closed for years, though. I doubt we'll be able to track anybody down. So just get through one more night. Hang in there. Good night. Hello. What on earth are you doing there? Didn't you get the memo? The place is closed down, at least for a while. Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right. Listen, just finish your shift. It's safer than trying to leave in the middle of the night. We have one more event scheduled for tomorrow, a birthday. You'll be on day shift. Wear your uniform. Stay close to the animatronics and make sure they don't hurt anyone, okay? For now, just make it through the night. When the place eventually opens again, I'll probably take the night shift myself. Okay, good night and good luck.
Okay, and now I'm going to go over some of the lore that I found interesting and some of the game files that I found interesting in this FNAF 2 game. Okay, stick with me here. Okay, so let's start off with the newspapers and the paychecks. The newspaper says grand reopening, vintage pizzeria given new life. It also says like what could go wrong. So this lets us know that this particular place is a revamped version of an older place. This later newspaper says robot scrapped. Freddy Fazbear's is closing, and it closed after being open for only a few short weeks. So yeah, the place is called Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. The new animatronics were scrapped due to possible malfunctioning. However, the original characters are being kept in hopes of a possible reorganization of the company. And then you have a quote from the CEO. It's a minor setback. We are confident that we will reopen someday, even if it's with a much smaller budget. I like how the CEO from both the first and the last game are very adamant about keeping Five Nights at Freddy's open and letting them live on, so to speak. And then you have the pink slip, which says, you're fired, get out, reasons, tampering with the animatronics, and odor. It also has a note saying, first day on the job, really? Question mark, exclamation point, question mark. And it's employee number 3. That's also interesting to me. Okay, and then you have the map, and the map has 13 rooms, including the bathrooms and the show stage in the back. And then there are 12 cameras. Also, the older animatronics, such as Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Freddy, they all have parts of them missing. Chica has no hands, Bonnie is missing his face, and Foxy doesn't have an ear. So it's likely that pieces of the old animatronics are now in the new animatronics. Also, I think it's interesting that Mangle has 2 faces and Bonnie's is missing. Also, Toy Chica, sometimes you'll actually see her with her beak, but during her jump scare and throughout the night, she removes her beak. Also, BB and JJ just seem really strange and out of place. JJ just has one sequence throughout the entire game. Also, I'm pretty sure this endoskeleton that shows up in the vents and is also in the party room is Foxy's because of the ears. There are 2 animatronics shown in shadow. One is Freddy and the other one is Bonnie. Bonnie's in particular is really creepy and random. You also have this little paper boy, and he'll sometimes move. Also, if you look at the walls of this place, it seems really run down. Or maybe they just kept it really untidy. Who knows? Okay, now I want to talk real quick about the mini games. In the Take Cake to the Children mini game, the voice in the background is actually spelling out "Save Him," which I assume is referring to the kid in blue, and if it is, then we know that that child is a boy. In Foxy's Go 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 minigame, there are 5 children, and by the end of the game, they turn gray. There's also no hidden dialogue in this minigame. In the Give Gifts Give Life minigame, there are also 5 kids. There are 4 which you give presents to, and then give life to, and then there's a 5th one right before Freddy's head jumps out at you. And there is dialogue in this that spells out "help them." The Save Them minigame is the one that I find most interesting, and I'm kind of need your guys' help with something in this minigame that bothers me. Hopefully maybe someone out there can shed some light on this. But first of all, there are also 5 kids in different rooms in this minigame. There are also 5 blood stains in this minigame, which I have marked on a map here. And you're always following the puppet into the party room where he disappears. And then on very rare occasions, you'll see the purple guy and he'll come after you. And when he gets you, instead of going to a red screen, you go to a purple screen. But something that's been stumping me with this game is there are 3 animatronics in the back room, which I'm guessing is the parts and service room. And you're playing as Freddy. I'm not actually sure which Freddy though. You do see the other Freddy, Toy Freddy, on the stage in the stage room, so I'm guessing that this is Withered Freddy, but he is a lot smaller than the other animatronics. He also is missing his hat though, and you can see in one of the scenes from the game that Freddy's hat does fall off. However, I do find this particular sequence very confusing because I'm assuming that this yellow animatronic in the corner here is Chica, but I'm not actually sure because it doesn't really show her beak. And this could possibly be Freddy. And the reason why this is important to me is because there is a line from Phone Guy that one of the animatronics had been moved. He says that there was a spare one in the back, a yellow one, and that someone used it. Also, something interesting about this minigame is that you'll see Golden Freddy randomly appearing and disappearing throughout the various rooms. And sometimes he'll have a gleam in his eyes, and sometimes his eyes will just look dead. So I'm trying to figure out which animatronic was used for the incidents that happened. And we know it had to be a yellow animatronic, and the only two yellow animatronics in this game are Chica and Golden Freddy. So I'm guessing it had to be one of those two. This is, of course, if we don't count the third game where Golden Bonnie is introduced. But yeah, please share your thoughts and opinions on this in the comments below because I'm pretty stumped with this one. Moving on. So the majority of Phone Guy's dialogue is him explaining the game and how it works. But you do get a couple of hints here and there of something else going on within the game. So in night 1, he welcomes you to your new summer job at the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. And he's here to talk you through a couple things during your first week. He also says he wants us to forget anything that we heard about the old location, and that the old restaurant was kind of left to rot. They've also spent a small fortune on the newer animatronics, and they use facial recognition, have advanced mobility, and they let them walk around during the day. They're also tied into a criminal database, so they can detect a predator a mile away. He then goes on to say that you're the second guard to work at that location. The first guy finished his week but complained about conditions, and then they switched him over to day shift. He also says the robots were never given a proper night mode, so when it gets quiet they think they're in the wrong room. So they're going to try to find where people are and thus attracting them to you. Alright, and then we're going to go on to night 2. And he says, I'm sure you've noticed the older models sitting in the back room. Those are from a previous location. So we know that the older animatronics were from an older location, and that they now use them for parts. They at first wanted to repair them, and they even started retrofitting them with some newer technology, but they were so ugly and the smell was apparently really bad. So the company decided to go a whole new direction, and the older models shouldn't be able to walk around. Phone Guy goes on to say that he loves the old characters, and if we ever saw Foxy the Pirate. He then says that he never liked that puppet thing. It was always thinking, and it can go anywhere. And then we move on to night 3. He then brings up Foxy again, asking if he appeared in the hallway. He then says that Foxy was always his favorite, and that they tried to remake Foxy because they thought the first one was too scary. So they redesigned him to be more kid-friendly and put him in Kids Cove to keep the toddlers entertained. He then says that kids these days just can't keep their hands to themselves, and that the staff literally had to put Foxy back together at the end of every shift. So eventually they stopped trying and they left him as some type of take apart, put back together attraction, and that the employees now refer to him as the Mangle. Also on night 3, Phone Guy says he wanted to ease our mind about any rumors that we might have heard lately. He says you know how these local stories come and go and seldom mean anything, and that he can personally assure us that whatever is going on out there, and however tragic it may be, it has nothing to do with our establishment. It is just all rumor and speculation, people trying to make a buck. And this is what I found really interesting. He says that our guard during the day, meaning the day guard, has reported nothing unusual, and he is on watch from opening till close. And then we move on to night 4. And on night 4, Phone Guy informs us that there is somewhat of an investigation going on, and that we may end up having to close for a few days. He wants to emphasize, though, that this is really just a precaution, and that Fazbear Entertainment denies any wrongdoing, and that these things just happen sometimes. And he thinks it'll all get sorted out in a few days. He also says, just as a side note, to avoid eye contact with any of the animatronics tonight. Someone may have tampered with their facial recognition systems, and that they're not sure, but the characters have been acting very unusual, almost aggressive, towards the staff. They interact with the kids fine, but when they encounter an adult, they just stare. And then we get to night 5. And Phone Guy says to keep a close eye on things tonight. And from what he understands, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, especially concerning any previous employees. And that once they get it all sorted out, we may be moved to day shift. They're also going to try to contact the original restaurant owner, and that he thinks the name of the place was Fredbear's Family Diner, and it had been closed for years, and he doubts they'll be able to track anyone down. And then we go to our last night, night 6, and Phone Guy says, "What on earth are we doing there? Didn't we get the memo? The place has been closed down at least for a while. Someone used one of the suits. They had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right." He then tells us to finish our shift because it's safer than leaving in the middle of the night. They had one more event scheduled for tomorrow, a birthday, and that we'll be on day shift, and to wear our uniform and stay close to the animatronics and make sure they don't hurt anyone. Once the place closes down, Phone Guy will probably take the night shift himself. He then says good night and good luck. Again, the most interesting thing that I found with these files was Phone Guy saying that someone used one of the suits. They had a spare in the back, a yellow one, and someone used it. There are also 5 bodies in every minigame except the Take Cake to the Children minigame, in which there is only 1 child. Also, Purple Guy in the Take Cake to Children minigame and in the Foxy Go minigame is different looking than the Purple Guy in the Save Them minigame. And that's what I found interesting about these particular files. Again, these are all just theories, like I don't actually know what Scott had in mind to begin with. These are just my thoughts on what I found. And as always, I hope you all enjoyed. If you think I left anything out, please leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll try to cover it in my next video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye!